It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, everyone, and this is Waking Up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. So it is definitely a hot one as we go into your Monday. Let's take a look at some of the conditions that are across the area this morning. So look at these numbers. You can see our temperatures are into the 80s already as we start things off today, and it's just going to get a little bit hotter the later we go into the day here, so don't be surprised by that. We're into a heat advisory today, so that means we can expect dangerous conditions at times. Right there you can see some of those numbers are showing a temperature of 83 in Gulfport, 86 in Wiggins, 84 in Biloxi, 83 in Moss Point, Pascagoula as of the 8 o'clock hour. And I think it's going to see a high in the 90s today. So that's going to be like it was yesterday, basically another round of that, a continuation. We had a heat advisory yesterday. We're getting into another one today. And I think we might even get another one as we go to the next day or two after this. And by the way, it's only 8 in the morning, but you can see not just a temperature number, but also that heat index, right? It feels like it's 93 in Gulfport, feels like it's 95 in Biloxi, feels like it's 94 near Moss Point, Pascagoula, and feels like it's 97 near Wiggins. So in South Mississippi, the sun came up like an hour or two ago, and it almost feels like it's 100 in a few places, so it's wasting no time at all. That's a look at some of the heat index numbers. Here's a look at the rest of them. The one in Van Cleve is actually showing a 102. I would say it's easy to pick out on this map. We've got so many different weather stations that we can tap into with our weather graphic system, and it's always easy to play. One of these things is not like the other. When you see a number like this showing up near Orange Grove, near Lyman 79, obviously that is probably an erroneous report. So what do you say we go into that graphic and remove that one for now? Because it probably doesn't feel like 79 if everywhere around there feels like it's in the 90s. I see another error. Do you see the one on the left? That one on the Pearl River County line. Let's kind of hide that one as well, because we are certainly feeling like it's in the 90s. I apologize. I actually went the whole morning and didn't take a sip of my coffee. Hopefully you got some nice cold beverages to drink this morning. I'm going on hot coffee here. I should have switched to iced coffee on a day like today with it feeling like it's in the 90s outside. And consider yourself lucky if your air conditioner is working properly today. I mentioned this on Good Morning Mississippi that, look, summer in the South, it reminds me sometime of like that Street Fighter game on Super Nintendo where you're fighting, it's the summer heat versus your air conditioner, and they're fighting, and sometimes it's KO. Your air conditioner will lose that fight sometimes. Hopefully that is not what you're dealing with on a day like today. I think I remember it was 2 summers ago in 2023, we had a really horrible heat wave that year, and my home AC kicked the bucket. It broke during the middle of a heat wave, and that was a very unfortunate time for me and my household, as it was hard to keep up with that. I had to find creative ways to get cool, utilizing all types of fans, taking cold showers, etc. So, my hat's off to you today if you find yourself without properly working AC. I know I've been there, and I know it's not fun. You have another 2 to 3 days with conditions like this. Sizzling mid-90s on the coast, swelteringly hot upper 90s inland. And you're noticing that rain chance is not helping us out at all. But how can it? With the setup here, a hot high pressure sitting directly on top of us, high pressure that presses down on the air. There's sinking air, not rising air, but sinking air. So as that air is sinking, it actually limits rain potential. Rain clouds are not able to as readily bubble up. as they usually do. We know rain clouds are not shy here on the Mississippi coast in the summer. They always pop up in the afternoon, those pop-up storms we talk so much about. But it's hard to pop up with high pressure pressing down. So that's why we're going to see those slim rain chances heading into your Monday and probably tomorrow too. But then we'll see some improvement later, and that will be the key to fighting off some of this heat. You see the heat advisory, it's for the entire Mississippi coast. This is a look at some of the numbers that we're talking about. You just saw that we already have a heat index in the 90s during the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Well, expected to get to the triple digits in the next hour or two. So as we go to 9 o'clock, maybe for some of you, and then definitely by 10 o'clock, pretty much everyone will have a heat index in the triple digits. So that 100 to 105 range will take us from 10 in the morning to 11 in the morning. By noon or 1 p.m., we're already going to start to see that number climbing in the 105 to 110 range. This is when it starts to get kind of dangerous. So if you have plans to maybe go for an afternoon jog, or you're someone who has to do some construction work, roofing work, yard work into the afternoon, or maybe you have some recreational sports you're playing, basketball outside, soccer outside, football outside, etc., tennis, golf, just make sure that you are really playing it safe. Those people that I just explicitly mentioned are the ones that are going to be the most susceptible to falling victim to heat exhaustion and heat stroke today. If you're a person like me who works mainly inside, a weekday morning meteorologist, first of all, my work day is over before the hottest part of the day even gets here. So, but then second of all, my workplace is in an air-conditioned building. So I'm really not going to be exposed to these conditions. But there are many people who actually do work outside, like I mentioned, construction workers, road workers, yard workers, etc. And so, y'all are really who the heat advisory is for. It's not for people who work inside, because you're not going to really be exposed to these conditions like talking about it. This will finally come to an end once the sun goes down around 7 or 8 p.m. But from 10 in the morning to 7 in the evening, that's when that heat advisory will be in place for all of us. And the people that are going to be, most susceptible to this stuff are going to be those people that are not remembering to practice the common sense heat safety precautions. If you're not remembering to drink extra water on a day like today, you're already staying hydrated every day. But on a day like today, you have to stay even more hydrated than you might already. Drink a little bit more water than you might usually on a day like today. Make sure you're staying hydrated in a healthy way. Of course, you might also want to find your nearest air conditioner and make best friends with it. Don't stray too far from it. And it always helps to find shade and avoid direct sunlight. The heat index numbers that we tell you are actually assuming you are in the shade. So it's a heat index number assuming you're outside and in the shade. If you're actually in the sun, you technically can add up to 15 degrees to the heat index number on how hot your body's apparent temperature is. So you can see things get quickly out of hand if we're forecasting 110 for the heat index today in the shade, but then you walk in the sun, you might actually feel like it's 125. These numbers sound ridiculous, I know, but don't take my word for it. If you want to test the waters, you can do it safely. Maybe test it out. Stand outside in direct sunlight for just 2 minutes at 2 p.m. today and see how long you can last. If you can last the whole 2 minutes, it might be harder than you think. You really do start to heat up very quickly when you're in the sun during the heat of the day. It's really not something to play around with. So in many cases, you really shouldn't test it. You really should just stay out of the direct sun and stay in the AC and stay hydrated whenever you can. It's sad to say, and it might surprise you, but heat is actually the #1 weather killer. It is the #1 cause of weather-related fatalities out of all weather-related fatalities in a given year. Yeah, more than hurricanes. Heat kills more than hurricanes every year, easy. Heat kills more than severe weather every year, easy. Heat kills more than winter weather every year, easy. It is the #1. I think you can even add all of the hurricane deaths on top of all the severe weather deaths, and you still won't touch the number of heat deaths that happen every year. And I think the reason why is twofold. One is that it affects so many people. A tornado can only hit the people in its path. Heat hits the whole area. But then the other thing is that we kind of take it for granted, right? We know it's hot every year. We know it's hot every summer. So what? It's July. So what? It's hot. It's supposed to be. But when you take it for granted, sometimes it sneaks up on you. And before you know it, you're already exhibiting symptoms of heat-related illnesses. And for some people, it sneaks up on them so quickly that they don't even realize the symptoms before it's too late, and they're already getting hit with exhaustion or stroke. Like I said, we will eventually get to a wetter pattern later this week. Today, only a stray storm, if any at all. Tomorrow, maybe some isolated storms. Wednesday, I think we'll see a much better chance for scattered showers and storms, but they might not happen early enough in the day to save us from the heat. You know, if we're already hitting the high temperature around 1 or 2 p.m., if the rain on Wednesday doesn't start until 3 or 4 p.m., it's too late. We will already be hot. But it is at least going to be the beginning of some higher rain chances for our area. And the last time we were together, last week during Waking Up with Wesley, we talked about the reason why we could see that increase in rain potential. We'll mention that in just a moment, but I do want to briefly talk about our record high today. So we talk about, oh, it's going to be hot, it's going to be hot. But the good news is it's been worse. Today is not going to be the hottest ever July 21st. We're not forecasting record-setting heat. The forecast high is 94. The record high is 100, and that was set just over 100 years ago in the year 1924. And it's not just in Gulfport, Biloxi, where they've been keeping weather records for over a century, but in other climate-keeping sites as well. There's not really record-setting heat today. Some places come close. You know, when the record's in the triple digits, it's hard to hit it. But when the record's in the upper 90s, like in Mobile, 98, they might come close with the forecast of 96 today. Now, in Gulfport, Biloxi, we're taking a look at the next 4 days. Today, 94, tomorrow, 96, Wednesday, 95, Thursday, 89, so coming down. And you'll notice most of those days, really all of those days, is not explicitly forecasting record-setting heat. So that's good news for us in that area. I think Tuesday, tomorrow, a little bit hotter than today, and the record a little bit lower than today's record. So that will be the day we come closest. We're within 3 degrees of the record high on Tuesday. We'll take another look at this. This is now inland versus coastal for the next 4 days. It's all forecast information here. You'll notice today we're going for highs from 94 to 97. Tomorrow we're going for highs. I think that's going to be the hottest temperature day for us, 96 to 98. And then on Wednesday, another hot sizzle for you, 95 to 96. But then Thursday, we're seeing it finally come down. The reason for the temperatures decreasing, well, first of all, the reason for the temperature is hot right now is because we're right underneath this hot high pressure. Eventually, this is going to move away from us as it goes to the north. That will unlock the door for some moisture to move in from the east. So that's what will help us to kind of get rid of this hot pattern. We'll see that rain chance increasing from where it is now, 10 to 20%, to where it will be by Wednesday, Thursday, 50 to 60%, maybe even a little bit higher. That moisture hanging out east of Florida and Georgia today. This stuff, if you don't have this blue stuff on top of you, it can be hard for rain to form. And where we are, you can literally see the center of the clockwise circulation, basically directly overhead. If I drew the high pressure exactly where the center of that is, it's basically right here. So with us being directly under that high, it's really hard for rain to form here. There's not enough moisture for it to happen. Plus, you got the high pressure pressing down, preventing the pop-up storms. So yeah, don't expect much out of it today. Now, by tomorrow, the high pressure slides a little bit to the west. It's located about here if you draw where that circulation, clockwise circulation, is centered. So this lets that moisture come a little bit closer. It's still not close enough on Tuesday for us to see a big rain chance. Now we go to Wednesday, and that moisture definitely is close enough. As it's moving into the Gulf Coast region, that begins Wednesday, continues Thursday, continues Friday, and maybe even into parts of the weekend with us seeing higher rain chances across the area. So this is a look at Wednesday through Sunday's rain totals, projected rain totals from the GFS computer model. And this whole zone here, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, seeing 1 to 3 inches of rain from that computer model. What happens if we switch the computer model from the GFS to the European? whoa, they like agree completely. That's not something that happens all the time. But when it does happen, meteorologists are really confident about what is going to happen in the future because we've got model agreement. And we'll see if that agreement continues or whether the models flip-flop. But right now, looks like a pretty good bet on those higher rain chances and a wetter pattern unfolding, and us seeing at least around 1 to 3 inches of rain at some point between this coming Wednesday and Sunday. Now, like last week, there was this kind of tropical connection. You know, we were watching the Gulf to see if something would spin up, would swirl up. Right now, the models aren't showing anything like that happening for the first part of the week, but we'll keep an eye on it. You know, maybe somewhere by Wednesday, we might see the National Hurricane Center watching somewhere, whether it's in the Gulf or to the east of the Gulf, somewhere in this general vicinity. They might highlight an area for a chance for development, especially by the second half of the week. The water temperatures are really warm, and if you have this mass of rain and clouds just sitting there swirling around, eventually a depression or storm tries to pop out. Last week, 93L failed to do that. This week, we'll see if maybe a new disturbance might give it a shot, and if it has a better shot than last week's 93L. But regardless of if something develops or not, it at least looks like we're going to see some better rain chances out of it. So don't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center might highlight somewhere in this zone for a possible development at some point later this week. By the way, speaking of tropical development, the National Hurricane Center actually watching way out in the tropical Atlantic. This zone here, low pressure, that's moving west, they give that a low chance to become a depression or storm. We can show you the spaghetti models with it. Technically, that's already being called Invest 94L, and I'm just taking a real early sneak peek at the spaghetti models, which, by the way, don't always perform very well on a newly forming or a new disturbance that's not organized and not really well formed. So take these spaghetti models with a grain of salt. Spaghetti with salt. I'm hungry already. Anyway, take this information with a grain of salt, but just know over the next 5 to 7 days, we might see some kind of tropical disturbance moving westward into the Caribbean. But right now, it looks like Mississippi and the rest of the Gulf Coast, we are far removed from that. So we're not really concerned about 94L for the next few days. But we'll keep an eye on it and watch its latest developments. Locally, we're just concerned about that excessive heat as we go to the first part of the week. It's really hot. And then the second part of the week, seeing the wet weather help to save us from the heat. So even though we're having those highs in the mid to upper 90s, Monday and Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, by the time we get to Thursday and beyond, those highs drop to 90 or lower, which will certainly be welcome relief. Hopefully it's not too much relief. The rain that we see later this week, the Weather Prediction Center is already highlighting us for a level 1 out of 4 risk of flooding each day. Every day starting Wednesday, we have a level 1 out of 4 risk, a low probability, but not zero, of seeing some isolated localized street flooding in parts of South Mississippi and near us. So hopefully it's not too much of a good thing to get relief from the heat, but all things that we'll follow for you closely this week in the First Alert Weather Center. So be sure to stay tuned as we monitor the latest developments and all of these changes in our weather pattern this week. There's certainly a lot of change when you have 1 week and 2 different types of weather. First part, sizzling hot. Second part, a lot of rain, but less heat. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that your air conditioners continue to work for you today and stay cool and as hydrated as you can. We'll see you again next time. Take care.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.